So many builds out there. How do you pick one? I had the same question for myself for Harlowe, and I built two of them just to see how they perform. Just want to do a quick overview for you guys. We're going to look at the red tree that Moxie made and the green tree. We'll look first at the red tree, at some boss kills, some mobbing, and then I'll give my opinions on each. If we take a look, this is at Moxie's red Harlowe tree, the Chroma Accelerator. I'm not going to go in depth in the build. I'll have his video linked, of course. I did not make any of this. I just farmed up all the gear just to show you guys what I thought. So we've got our Katagawas with the Jacob's license part. That's really what we're going after here for this build. We've got the Lucians for mobbing. We've got the Convergence for mobbing or bossing. And we have a Boory's with the laser, of course, as he recommended. There are a few different types that I found. So we've got some with some more damage. And with the Jacob's part, same here, but they only have the 39 mag. This one has the 67 and seems to do far better damage. A lot of our damage, of course, coming from our tree and not the gun itself. Some other things, I've got the kill spring for survivability. The ordnance didn't matter. I didn't want to use the crit knife. I've got the skeptic class mod and the super soldier. I've also got this nasty Quintain that's been doing pretty well for me. So we've got even the Quintain. Try to match it as best as we can. The problem with this build is you have to have the action skill up. So if it goes on cooldown, you're a little screwed. So you can see it decimates things, right? We knew that. But what does it look like when I don't have a tree available? If I'm just shooting them. Not great, right? Not great. Even with the Katagawas, if we load them up with projectiles, still, it's not great, right? We need to have the action skill. So there, it destroys him, right? We knew that already. So big thing, mobbing to me just doesn't feel very good. Does not feel great. So that's one thing already that I'm not a huge fan of this build for. We'll run over to the boss and we'll try it on that. We'll be right back. Alright guys, we're back after the fact. Just looking at some mobbing in some different locations. This was some older footage I had, so it's only on UVH2. But still you can see it does very well. So just a little different look at some of the mobbing. As you can see, it does pretty well. As long as our action skill's up. Okay, we'll try it out at Origo, just like Moxie did, see how it looks. Wait for him to come over. And of course it melts him. Unfortunately, what I've noticed is with flying enemies, for whatever reason, it stops. It becomes far less efficient. I don't know if that is because of the pierce from high caliber or double dipping with the Katagawa. I also don't know if this is part of the recent boss health bar bug. However, if we do it again when he's on the ground, let me melt him again. You know, I think there's something to that. Obviously the orbs need to be near him to damage him, but you can see that it does plenty of boss damage. You know, in a perfect world, if we burst him down, you could probably get him in a second or two. But there just gives you again an idea of the damage potential on bosses. Okay, we'll try a boss kill with the Boory as well. Again, damage doesn't matter. Fire rate, big mag, that's what's going to do it for us here. So I always run off to the right, pop our rep kit, and then just shoot. Lines up when he gets here. If you can aim, you can probably get him in one mag. Pretty nasty. The other build we'll look at is MOXSY'S Green Infinicrit build. This makes use of the bod. In this case, I use the Ripper license part. Does really well with the Ripper enhancement. A lot of people do not like the Ripper weapon, so if you don't, you just use a Daedalus with 1% fire rate stacking. Make sure you have gun damage on there. We've got the Watts for Dinner shield with amp. That's what gives you some extra damage. We've got the Savant class mod to get extra duration for our class, our action skill. We've got our rep kit, and then the ordnance does not matter, just so that we get some high caliber and Deadeye. We'll give it a shot. So we activate our action skill. We're trying to build up stacks here. So it does pretty good damage as well. Doesn't melt him as fast as Red Tree, but does pretty darn good for that. Keep in mind this, I farmed up pretty much every best in slot here. For this you could use the War Paint for more fire rate. I like the extra damage, but really we could use either. I mostly like the bypass for the 3 charges that it provides. Gets your action skill back quickly. And I farmed all of this, let's see, I think within 40 hours. So best in slot gear within 40 hours. It works long before that. But, I mean, you could look at that too. You know, it took 40 hours because I did just get this Watts for Dinner shield to drop with amp. That's what took me the longest, but getting a bod is not terrible. And really you can make do with a lot of other class mods here. Mainly you're looking to get this here, control group, to get action skill duration. Let's look at Green Tree's mobbing potential. Same here, we'll use our assault rifle mode bod with our Daedalus enhancement. Nice thing too is we spec into some ricochet. So you can see even without the Ripper license part, if you don't like that for the charge up, it's certainly functional without that too. As you can see, pretty good damage. We're at 3 stacks, so we are going to lose our action skill. So let's see what that looks like. We'll let it run out. So there we see 20 seconds. We can get that down right away pretty quickly too if we kill some more mobs. We can also do the same with our rep kit through our specialization as well. Through this, that's why we also take a rep kit with 3 charges, so you can quickly get that back as well. So like I said, just feels much more comfortable for mobbing in my opinion. So ultimately, what does it come down to? First and foremost, bossing damage. It should come as no surprise. Red Tree excels at this. If you're doing a lot of bossing, it might be worth your time. It definitely drops bosses with ease. Mobbing, same thing. Quite good with mobbing. However, it's going to be a little gear dependent. technically, you could really use any old SMG, throw out your chroma accelerator, and you will do pretty nice damage. There's no denying that. However, for it to feel really good with mobbing, I'm going to have to give it a 4 out of 5 stars because it's fairly gear dependent. That comes down to our next category. I had to farm for quite a while to get my Katagawas, get my Lucians, and my convergence. The Bramble Song that you get convergence from took me quite a few kills. It was like 20 or 30 kills to get 2 of these convergences. Luckily, my Lucens was a world drop, and my Katagawas I got from the weekly farming this week, so I got a little easy with that one. The Boories with the taser, there's no guaranteed way to get this, so these are all by chance. The Kill Spring, very easy to get. The Skeptic mod, not terrible. The Super Soldier, pretty easy. Ordnance, you can use anything at all. The Quintain, very difficult to get, but again, if you get any one of them with a bounce pass, it shouldn't be too bad. So I don't have any other ones on me that aren't the legendaries, but again, you do not need to have a legendary enhancement. So for the farming requirements, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. So many of these items you can farm relatively quickly, but for the build to really come together, you need quite a few pieces of gear. And then finally, the comfortability of the build. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it. If action skill goes down, you're kind of at the mercy of everything. And with the recent glitches with like the health bars, with bosses, and you go into fight for your life, you're kind of done. I think the time you save, the couple seconds you save from melting a boss with this build, I would much rather have with the consistency with the bod and the green tree, to be honest. The comfortability, I'd give it like a 1. It's really nice when you get used to it, but if it's your very first build as Harlowe, I would recommend something else. But if you are pushing into the end game and you're looking to destroy some bosses, then maybe this build is for you. Regarding the star rating of the green build, looking at bossing, just like we saw, pretty good. In the beginning, before you get kind of best in slot gear, I'd give it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's very consistent damage, but it is not the crazy damage, the deletion damage that comes with the red tree. Once you get it set up, I'd give it maybe a 4.5 or 5 stars. Again, it took me a good 40 hours to farm some of this very specific gear. Mobbing, I think it does fantastic. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. You do, again, have to have your action skill up constantly, but this is much more comfortable than Red Tree. You only need a few stacks of group study to keep your damage pretty consistent. Definitely feels more comfortable than Red Tree for me. When we get down to gearing or farming for gear, overall I'd give it a 3 out of 5. The bods are a little hard to farm. They do drop from Axmal, and he's a little stingy with his drops, but once you get one, you can make it work. It seems to me that boss damage is best with the SMG ammo. Fires much faster. And then I like the mobbing with either assault rifle ammo or sniper rifle ammo. That seems really good for mobbing. When it comes down to it, overall, I'd give it maybe a 3 out of 5. Some of these things are not easy to get. You have to jump around a lot to different bosses to get their specific drops. For absolute endgame gear, I'd give it a 1 out of 5 stars. The gearing or farming does take a while, but I think that's what gives it its draw to this build, is there's so much you can improve upon and is something to shoot for an endgame. And then finally, comfortability. It feels very comfortable. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Like I said, you get your action skill up, you can see it drains very slowly. So as I'm running around and shooting things, got lots of time. Remember too, as you're mobbing, you're going to regain some of this cooldown as you kill things. As I add more stacks here, it does drain faster, but we also, again, will be replenishing that. So overall, pretty good. I really enjoy green tree. Definitely feels like there's a higher echelon of build potential here. Whereas red tree, I feel you get your power quickly and you can't build upon it much more than that.